Let's get started with the generic approach where we load in whatever previous configuration file comes up, just so long as it properly tells MicroManager what shutters, filters, camera, stage, and focus motors we have hooked up in the system. We can click the Live button to look at what the camera is looking at, and if it looks really dark, we realize that we need to open the little shutter to allow the light to shine on the plate. Notice the histogram jumps up in intensity, but we still need to adjust the brightness and contrast to expand the low light level here. Now we can see features in the plate, so I move to the view to the far left side of the plate until it goes beyond the plate and we see the dark stage on off the left hand side. Then I go up into well A01 and we come to a point where the stage stops before actually reaching the top of the well A01. And from there, I follow the edge down to the bottom center edge of the well, and now I know exactly where I am in the plate. I routinely mark this position as a reference point in the stage position list to return to if I get lost, and also to monitor during experiments to make sure the stage is behaving the way it should. From here, if I want, I can move the stage, keeping track of where I am by looking at the edges of the wells, and move into the wells that contain cells that I want to select as imaging view fields for my experiment. As I select these view fields and focus, it's often helpful to pick up the magnifying glass tool from the Image J toolbar and zoom in on the features of the image that I want to use for fine focus. Waking up a little, I realize that 100 millisecond exposure gives a much better image than the default 10 millisecond starting point. When I'm happy with the position and the focus, I can mark this position just like I did with the reference position in the stage position list and go on to another view field that I want to select until I've accumulated the list of positions for the experiment. But instead, I'm going to show you some great shortcuts. First, aside from telling MicroManager about your hardware, the configuration file can save and load so-called presets. The bright field preset I'm selecting here automatically opens the little shutter and sets the exposure to 100, the gain to 1, and the binning to 2x2. It would have also closed shutter A, the fluorescence shutter, if it had been opened. I'm using the 4x magnification, which is the easiest way to get oriented, and once again I'll find the position at the bottom of well A01 as a place to start. Next, I'm using the device property browser to change the XY stage step size from its default value of 0.1 to a value of 0.4. This converts the stage units, which show up, for example, in the stage position list, into units that coincide with microns. Also in this dialog window, change the value for XY stage transpose mirror Y from the Boolean 0 to 1. And now we're opening the High Content Screening Site Generator, or HCSSiteGenerator. In this new MicroManager plugin, you select the plate type you're using. Then you can quickly set up single or an array of multiple imaging positions in all the wells of your plate. The graphic lets you see how the view field centers look in each well while you make adjustments. With the upper left well A01 in the view field, you set the origin of the coordinate system by clicking on the Calibrate XY button. I'm using artistic license to calibrate on the intersection of wells A1 and B1 instead of the center of well A01 as the instructions tell us. This is so that I can show you in a minute how to verify that the stage actually moves as you expect it to before you start your experiment. When you're ready with the spacings and the number of positions per well, you select the wells you want by dragging with the mouse and/or using the control key and clicking. Then you click on the Build List button. It doesn't show you this list, so you have to go to the menu to open it under Tools, Stage Position List. And there you see your list of 4 positions per well for 3 wells already labeled with well name and positions 0 to 3 in the array. If the arrays were centered around the well center, we would be ready to go to each position to focus. But what I'm going to do here instead is open the multi-dimensional acquisition dialog window and make some quick entries to have it scan every 30 seconds and have the images saved into a folder called Test HCS. When I push the Acquire button, the camera begins taking images and the stage moves from one position to the next according to the order in the list that we generated. You can follow the position labels in the area below the images to see that the stage is traveling from well to well, and you can see from the images that the array is lining up nicely the same for each new well. If we slide one of the sliders after we reach the end of the list, the time left before the next scan appears. But since the time-lapse interval is set to only 30 seconds, we just barely finish with a second or two left to spare before the next scan begins. Now, we could go back to the HCSSiteGenerator and recalibrate XY with the view field in the center of well A01, as the instructions tell us. That would be the next step in a real experiment. But I don't have nice cells to focus on right now, so I'm going to show the steps for focusing using a different example. After you go into the stage position list, you select the position you want to focus, click on the Go To button, and view the specimen in the live camera window using the zoom tool from ImageJ. You focus by rotating the dial on the side of the joystick case. When you're happy with the focus, you click on the Replace button at the top right to insert that new focus Z value into the list as what's called the stage value. The Replace button also replaces the XY position values if they have been changed. Then notice that the Replace button gets renamed as the Mark button. You have to be aware of this. When you click on Mark, it creates a new position using the current values for X, Y, and Z. When you click on Replace, there is always one of the positions from the list that has been selected, and you will see it highlighted in blue. Now we select the next position in the list, click on the Go To button, wait for the stage, focus with the joystick knob, click on Replace, and continue through the list by repeating these steps. You can change the XY positions however you wish at the same time we're focusing. You'll get the hang of this in no time and find that you can focus through 50 or more positions in just a few minutes. For more details about these steps and how to get your system up and running, you might find the companion documents called LCI Startup Checklist and MicroManager Quick Start helpful. Thank you for watching.